5, 4.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of Look Who's Chalking. Episode 2 because we did one a couple weeks back for no reason other than to let you know that we were going to be around this year. We're going to be out in full force, which is why we are here once again, because the prices have come out for week 1. So, I mean, that's a national holiday where we come from. When the DraftKings prices came out, we asked for it last episode, we got it, and now we're going to give you our first sniff at that week 1 slate. And who knows, I mean, think about the credit you'll get if on August 11th you actually concocted the millionaire lineup that you ended up not playing, because it's like, come on, the lineup you came out with on August 11th is actually going to win the millionaire. Who knows? We're going to find out. Gary, we got prices. I know that you're one of those maniacs, which means you're really one of the sharps. You got a preseason slate coming up tonight, but you know, the name of this show is called Look Who's Chalking, not Look Who's Sharping. We need to know about more regular stuff. We got a regular guy coming in a little bit. We're wheeling in a regular NFL fan so that we know who's going to chalk week 1. But how's it going? I know you got some other stuff on the table before week 1. But when you think about week 1, what's the first thing you think of?
I think that it's so overly anticipated. I honestly think it's a harder carnival to navigate than week 17 is, because the prices have been out so long. There's so much anticipation. There's all these tout sites that build themselves up around these certain players that already are going to be chalk anyway because they're underpriced, and then just so much steam gets on there. And then you just have this ultimate decision to do, which is, do I play a 30%, 5,300 Michael Pittman last year, or do I fade it and risk not having the optimal lineup? And for that reason, I don't love it that much week 1. I think that because, and I should say, oftentimes one of those really chalk pieces is going to hit because they're so mispriced. So I actually kind of wanted to go into this little blinds and see what our regular guy in his regular guy hat thinks, because I don't know who those guys are going to be up front yet, but for sure it's a tough situation to navigate, one that I don't love when I'm kind of trying to create an edge, because the edge that you would naturally create isn't actually the proper one, if you know what I mean. So
we'll bring in our Joe Blow in a minute, but first I just want to say, like, you're confronted with these weird decisions week 1, like from the own regular guy who lives inside me. Sometimes you think, okay, if I'm trying to win money, the best buck is on pre-established connections. You got, this same coordinator with this same quarterback and those same receivers. You know what it's going to show. You know what it's going to be like. But then where the carnival aspect comes in, okay, new coordinator, new coach, new system, new player on a new team. And last year, me and you are shaking our head at each other because we're like, Tua is the week 1 perfect quarterback. That's legitimately impossible to think when you remember how I was picturing him flubbing knuckleballs. We were joking about, can they even get Tyreek Hill a 25-yard pass? But we underestimated new coach, new system, things can work. And it really is more of a carnival because at least in week 17, the injuries are all piling up. It's like, all right, well, they only got this guy left. There's a weird little bit of certainty. So much ruckus week 1. And now that people don't play in the preseason, remember they were saying, well, like week 1 and 2 are the new preseason where people are testing out stuff. It's borderline nightmare out there.
Yeah, week 17 is way better for a player like me who likes the edge, wants to grind the news, can try to figure out who's going to play, who's not going to play, can kind of break down those postseason scenarios. Week 1 is, a shit show. Actually, if you look back at the week 1 perfect lineup last year, the week you were thinking of with Tua was week 2, which blew up my whole ship, because I was like, yeah, don't play. You really shouldn't be going for these double stacks with the top 2 receivers, because if you look at perfect lineups, historically, they don't really hit. So you don't really want to play Godwin and Evans together that often. And then, of course, not only did I use the example in my leverage column on ATR to not play Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle together, they went out and had the most absurd week in week 2. It was Waddle, Tua had 43 points. Waddle had 43 and Tyreek had 45. So just blew that thing out of the water. But if you go back,
you still hold that theory? Do you still believe that theory that you should?
We saw it a little bit more last year, and a lot of that though was due to pricing, and that's something it's a good transition though, because one thing we didn't realize last year, and I don't think at the beginning of the season at least, and something that I'm already looking at the week 1 prices right now, is that DraftKings changed the pricing system up last year for quarterbacks. I used to always say, hey, I like spending up at quarterback because the difference in ceiling is so vast and so stark. But when you make your still starting quarterbacks 5,300, while Lamar Jackson's 8K and Josh Allen's 8,800 or whatever, that $4,000 or $5,000 difference does make that much of a difference. Where the ceiling, unless they're getting like 48, 50 points, if you're going to get a 5,000 guy with 30 plus, that could be optimal for you. That's what you saw in week 1 last year, and it took us a while to adjust to that new norm. So week 1 last year, it's actually unbelievable what the perfect quarterback was in week 1 last year. It's like actually hard for me to wrap my head around. It was freaking Carson Wentz at 5,500 for the Washington football team, who's not even in the league right now. So just really, really hard to fathom. Prices, it looked like they did kind of build them up a little bit more from week 1 last year. Like Kelsey was only 6,600 last year. Saquon was only 6,100. These were guys that were in the perfect lineup, obviously underpriced. This year in week 1, we have Eckler at 8,400, Jefferson's 88. So, we are kind of coming out the gate with a little bit of, more of a puzzle pieces, if you will, for week 1, but still, like, there's going to be plenty of guys that are way underpriced. That's just the entire field's going to play.
I'm kind of caught between chalk and a hard place here, where I don't know which way I go, because whatever that voice is in your head, oh, come on, that guy's not, didn't you see them last year? And I'm just trying to delete that. Why don't we bring in the regular guy? Let's bring in Joe Blow Public to tell me who I should play in my lineup. So here he is, right off the Ticketmaster line, Joe Blow Public. Now,
it's really nice to meet you guys.
Going in for week 1.
It's like a late night bit. He's playing character, Joe Blow Public. He's just a character. There's no name. Hello, Joe.
How's it going, Garrett?
It's JP. That's Joe,
JP.
And middle name Blow Public.
I have some thoughts.
Did you see that?
Week 1.
No, keep it up. Keep it up.
So JP, you don't have to build the full lineup if you don't want to. But when you're looking, when you were looking at those quarterbacks, like, and you're looking at the full slate, are you looking at a game? Or are you looking at, I have to play this guy versus that team? What? Just give us.
I'm looking at a game that I think is going to be high scoring. Like you mentioned with Washington and Philadelphia last year. That's why Wentz was the top quarterback. So I need a lot of points. So chalk says Lamar Jackson, but I'm not going that chalk. Okay, I'm not going to go that chalk, even though I think they'll destroy the Texans. I'm going Herbert against Miami. I don't think any defense is going to be played in that game. I'm going to throw as many charges as I can in that stupid.
You hear that, ladies and gentlemen? He's not going to go chalk. He's just going to go right under it to the next chalk.
Just right below the chalk. Okay, that's where Joe Blow Public makes his bones.
I would imagine Herbert's going to be pretty popular. Obviously, we're weeks out from ownership projections, but he's 6,900 compared to like 7,800 Hurts, 7,700 Fields, 8,000 Lamar Jackson. So like that price is just too cheap for the at home. Everyone's excited about Kellen Moore coming over. You know, all the offseason narrative about the Chargers is just going to
team on the other side is healthy too. They're going to be people are going to be thinking points galore in this game. So who did you pair Herbert with?
Well, I had to throw in, like I said, a late night Charger stack here on August 11th, and I got Eckler running back. I got Allen, Williams, and Everett. We're calling it a day.
The early lineup catches the flea flicker.
Wow! So we went.
It's late.
We went quad stack here. Is what you're telling me?
What did you go? So you went with Herbert.
He went unprecedented here. He went quad stack. I don't think that's ever won anything. If you triple stack, in its own right. I
could take Everett out. I mean, I'm willing to remove Everett.
Who did you go with?
He went
Herbert,
Eckler,
Eckler, Allen,
Keenan
Williams,
Allen.
Everett.
Why don't we just throw Quentin Johnston in there too? Let's go the entire
about
team.
it.
Is this a
Thought about
showdown slate? Who's your captain? This is who you're the whole. This is not a Sunday night lineup. You're trying to win the million.
Pete, I want to do an exercise here. How many points will this Chargers team need to score for this line to be optimal? Okay, I actually think it would be. I think the over/under is 60. I think they would need to score 60 points. I think we would need 7 Justin Herbert touchdowns. We would need 2 bonuses out of Eckler, so like 200 all-purpose yards, and then we would need 4 touchdowns combined, or 5 maybe, between Allen, Williams, and Everett.
Like I said, you never know. I could take Everett can go. Everett can go. Let's bring it down to 50 points. And plus, I'm just trying to cash. I'm not going to win the million. You guys, just want to make me right on that number. Yeah, I'm going to close like Secretariat. It's at 8:00 at night and make $55.
Gary, I have an interesting question going into this year. I know some of the guys at your company, and a lot of people they're kind of foreshadowing the potential decline of Keenan Allen. They're saying if you look at the advanced metrics, you're actually started to see it already. Do you think that's going to reflect in your Joe Blow? Like if Mr. Blow, if I said to you, hey, we need a game from a Charger, it doesn't matter, the same price, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, who you throwing in there?
Mike Williams.
Really?
Yeah,
so that's what I'm thinking.
I know. Allen to me was starting to fade a little anyway. I agree. He was the one I was thinking of throwing out.
So a couple of things on Keenan. I mean, he was still earning targets at an absurd rate last year, right? Like double-digit targets in almost every game. But there are some advanced metrics that like kind of win rate, especially in man, were down a little bit. I think though. I'm kind of scared of Keenan Allen this year than not. Obviously, new offensive coordinator, a lot of buzz about them lining Mike Williams up in the slot and moving him around the field. If that's the case, that means Keenan Allen's moving outside. I do not know if Keenan Allen can win on the outside at this point of his career. The caveat here, so like on best ball, for example, on underdog, he's going 4 spots or like 7 spots ahead of Mike Williams. I think he's way too expensive there. On DraftKings, though, where you're still looking at full point PPR, it's, he's easier to get your mind around. I do want to see what he looks like in this new offense, but I'm with Mr. Blow here. I am definitely more of a Mike Williams fan if I just had to pick one over Keenan Allen. But I actually think he did the right thing here. I think, I'm a huge proponent of pairing running backs with quarterbacks, particularly pass catching ones. So if you actually ask me, hey, I have to, for my life, pair one Charger with Justin Herbert, it will still be Austin Eckler until otherwise.
I would like to know what Eckler's stats are when both Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are healthy, because I know those first couple of weeks people were getting very scared with him, and I don't know if he's the quickest starter really. So he most likely, because I still am not at a point, no mass entries of my power sweeps where it's the 3 big lineups. I don't think Eckler's going to be seen. It. Definitely going to have some Chargers.
Yeah.
But
Mike Williams is going to be super chalk. He's way too underpriced. So Keenan Allen 7,300, Mike Williams is 5,700. I mean, just way too cheap. You're right about Eckler. Good memory with the slow start. First 3 weeks last year, 11 points, 18 points, 13 points. It wasn't until week 4 that he ripped off that crazy run of 35, 39, 25, 36. So yeah, was a slow starter last year for sure.
Okay. Anybody else did you just pluck from other games?
I
JP?
plucked a little from other games. Well, yeah, I sure did. What do we think about DeAndre Swift in Philly? I heard he's the number 1 back, in the eyes of the coaches.
So on the very day where they came out in just full lying fashion, just some guy in Philadelphia must have made this up and people are running with it, that Kenneth Gainwell is and there's been 2 Kenneths shortened. Kenneth Gainwell is now Ken Gainwell. And Kenneth Chalker is now going by Kenny Chalker. Or wait, did I get it wrong? One is a Kenny
and Kenny Gainwell and Ken Walker. Yeah, you're close.
Chalker.
Yeah.
Okay, he will.
It's the summer of Ken with Barbie. Man, Kens are in.
Yeah. So with him and then Penny, who's always been a good early season running back, and DeAndre Swift habitually being screwed. You think really him going up to New England, that's a good play in there?
If he catches some passes, it would be okay. I mean, I think there's a chance of a little upside there.
He probably won't make my week 1 player pool. I don't think. But
it's not my only lineup, Gary. This is going to be at least 5 lineups.
I'm just playing into. I'm gonna have my chalk 5 lineups. That 3 of them I'm gonna make on the toilet at 12:25 on Sunday morning. But
Where I do some of my best work.
Swift, so I'm gonna stay away from this backfield, but I do think there's a really good chance Swift is the odd man out here. From like I've been heavily invested.
That's
in
crazy though, isn't it? Though they say 1 year ago they're saying, "Oh, he may be the MVP running back of the year."
They gave up a 5th round pick for him. We know he's super talented. There was I think certainly he'll be I think he's going to be their base 3rd down back, but it sounds like they really like Gainwell and all the 2 and 4 minute stuff. They trust him around the goal line. I don't believe that he's their base down back. I do think Penny's going to have that role. I believe so I'm kind of hedging what you were saying, Andy. I think there's some truth to the story that came out today that they like him a lot more than we've let on throughout this offseason. He's their longest tenured back there. If you look at all the advanced stuff, he's been super efficient in the limited opportunities he's had so far. He's way cheap compared to Swift and Penny. So if I'm just trying to draft one in season long, I'd rather take a flyer on Gainwell in the very last round of my home league, or in round 16 of a best ball draft, than take Swift in the 6th round or 5th round and take Penny in the 9th round. I'd rather just take Gainwell every time. For DFS week 1, in going into New England, who's projected to have a good defense, little bit gritty of a game, I probably just leave all of them out of my player pool. We have a huge slate. Just move on.
I'll give you another one to use with that salary instead in a minute. All right, JP, is there anyone else? Who are some other pluckers that you found in there?
What about Cortland Sutton? What do we think about him?
Now, yeah. I'll take this one, and I'm going to say, thinking about Tua, just trying to delete bad memories from last year, and thinking about, okay, Tua and that double stack, winning that $1 million. What were the ingredients that set that up? McDaniel's going there, changing the system, and then all of a sudden it's high flying. Where's another situation that can potentially happen? Where just you can have a big week, 2 target hogs that you can stack with them. And I think one of my $20, this is going in the millionaire. It's not truly my favorite. This is my chalk pick. But for the random thing, the taste that Russell Wilson left in people's mouth, the fact that Javonte Williams is not going to be at full strength, and the other running back, P. Ryan, is a good pass catcher, you're going to have 2 target hogs and Dulcich. You're going to have Sutton and Judy with Russell Wilson, who nobody will play, and you're going to have one shot to see them first at home with Sean Payton. I'm going to take a calculated sniff that they have a big game, and Sean Payton brings out. The guy has won with the worst quarterbacks ever. Watch him draw up a game plan, and he also said Russell Wilson's going to be running more this year. You're getting some rushing yards, and then 2 guys you can easily pair with. I actually am a fan of that Cortland Sutton pick.
Well, thanks. I mean, now I might have to make a.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Mr.
Sorry,
JP.
I'm just jumping all over your show here.
No, don't worry.
Listen, I'm just thinking now I have to make a Broncos stack for one of my 5 lineups. I got to go.
It could fail. It could fail, but when you're taking.
No, I want to add to the Denver stuff. So, all right. So Sutton was the guy early in this offseason that was completely left for dead. Tim Patrick was coming back. Everyone was excited about him. He's been a long lost star for years, apparently, in that Denver camp. Judy was the guy that had been getting kind of the buzz from the new coaching staff. Had a pretty good last 6 weeks of last year, all things considering, in a terrible offense. There was Sutton trade buzz around the draft. And then they go out and draft Marvin Mims in the 2nd round. Sean Payton, handpicked guy, first ever draft pick in the Sean Payton era. But now you look over the last week, Tim Patrick goes down for the season. KJ Hamler's out for a while. And Sutton is getting all that good offseason buzz. Looks as lean as he has since his 2020 season. Sean Payton believes that he's going to get him right back to that form. Looks great in camp. So I've gone a 180 on Sutton. I'm glad I was drafting him still in best ball, because his price was so cheap. You can get him around pick 100, where Jerry Judy's going pick 38, 40. Just such a difference. So I also like the Sutton pick, only 5,200, so really cheap. But I'll tell you who would be the most chalk of that group, because rookies are 3,000 in receivers. Marvin Mims, now locked in to that wide receiver 3 role, will be incredibly chalky in week 1 here as a rookie receiver at the Stone Min, in all different types of formats. He'll be a plug-and-play guy in stacks. So you might actually get a little bit of ownership away from Judy and Sutton just because of how chalky Mims will be at the Stone Min.
That's great. And that's an easy stay away for me. I'm not trusting a random rookie wide receiver when he's not even going to be in 2 wide receivers. People can do that all they want. That's not going to be me. It's just not.
I probably would keep him limited to correlation. If I'm just thinking like just my first sniff of without having built any kind of build or anything like that, I'd
You
probably
don't
make a
get to
rule.
third sniffs without first ones. So just,
This is true. With Mims, like assuming he's going to be chalk, right? I'd probably make a rule. I either want him in double stacks with Russell Wilson if I'm playing Russell Wilson, or I'd want him correlated with a Raider on the other side, and I'm hoping that game goes over the 44.5 that it's projected for. Other than that, I don't want exposure to that chalk. Usually is how I'd play it.
Yeah. And what I'm going to do with, I told you I was going to replace that running back of yours. You had DeAndre Swift in there. Now this is somebody.
Fix my lineup. Fix my millionaire lineup.
There are a couple of a couple quarterbacks that I've just sounded all the whistles on. First it was Rivers. I mean, this precedes the show. This precedes everything. Then it was Derek Carr. You get any running back affiliated with Derek Carr, and now there's going to be no Kamara there week 1. This is chalk that I'm willing to eat week 1. Look who's chalking. If I had to declare a Men's Warehouse pick of the week, and I don't even know if we're not at that. I mean, these are first sniffs, but if there was a Men's Warehouse pick of the week for me, it's going to be Jamal Williams. Forget about everything he did last year. I don't care if he took the year off last year. If you're playing with Derek Carr, you're getting about 5 checkdowns. The best bet that I'm going to give people on Odd Shopper for week 1 is going to be the over 2.5, 3.5. I will take the adjusted thing at 4.5. He's getting a bunch of dinks from Derek Carr, and other than the rookie, he's going to be getting the majority of the snaps those first couple of weeks. Lock your over on 3.5 catches for Jamal Williams, because captain check down that nobody talks about because he takes 3 deep shots a game. People go, oh no, he's a great deep ball passer. No, he's not. He's the king of check downs, and you get your Jamal Williams 5 receptions in your lineup. What's his price?
So he's 5,100, and I don't have an issue with it, Andy, but you're basically this is what I said at the top. You have to decide if you want to play the chalk. He's going to be the chalkiest play on the slate. The only way he's not is if this Kareem Hunt signing goes through and there's buzz that he's getting, first team reps. If not, at 5,100, he's going to be incredibly chalky. He's your Michael Pittman play from last year, where Michael Pittman was only 5,500, projecting incredibly well around the industry, going into a home game with Seattle when the Seahawks were expected to be one of these terrible teams. It was a 50-point over-under. And what did Michael Pittman do? He put up, let me see here again. I just had it. Oh, I went to week 2021 by accident. He was in the perfect lineup, and he put up 30 points at 5,500. So I think these are the exact kind of decisions you have to make the decision. Do you want to play the obvious chalk because it's that good of a play? I would argue sitting here on August 11th, Jamal Williams does look like that. But, we'll see. He's going to be projected for 30% plus. So then you just got to decide at that point.
Look, when I got Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy double stacked in a Russell Wilson lineup, one thing you told me last year, you've cleared. Don't even worry about the word chalk at that point.
Yep.
And I've done my work off to the side to funnel in the chalk. I made room for the chalk like dessert. I don't want to have the chalk. The cake, but it's because for me, it's Carr. Every catch, I'll be writhing on the inside. And then when you think about how effective he was at the goal line, and yes, Taysom Hill is there to always snake those goal line carries, but he really was so effective at the goal line last year. His only competition week 1 is going to be a rookie. Titans usually have a relatively tough defense, but that's going to be a play.
Interesting 5,100 pivot to me. It's exact same price. Brian Robinson at home against probably the Cardinals being the worst team in the league. Guy was getting like 20 carries in 3 of the last 4 games last year. He's not a pass catcher, but I could see easily like Washington getting up like 20-3, him just getting fed in the second half, falling to the end zone a couple times. And he's the exact same price. Will not be owned at all. Not the kind of play I love to play on full point PPR DraftKings, but week 1 as a direct pivot looks pretty good to me.
All right, Mr. Blow, before we let you go, and I sound like Eminem freestyling, but do you have any other players that you were thinking about putting in there that you either want an approval or us to talk you off of?
Yeah, thank you for asking that, because I have some real old men in this lineup that I need because I got to get a donkey punt in 4,600 at receiver. So I picked Thielen, thinking he might just be like, again, a check down option. Can he get me 10 points? Can Thielen get me 10? I don't know. I need something better at 4,600, I think, even though I think there might be points in that game. But
all right, well, how about this?
I'm Joe Blow Public. What do I know?
It's like, Peter. Sorry, Joe. It really sounds like you should be playing cash.
I am playing. I should play cash lineups. That's true.
You should be playing cash lineup. Is what it sounds like.
Gary, this is my first crack, Gary. You know I'll be getting some real terrible picks in there in other lineups.
How about you? Can you pull the flex on the DraftKings screen so we can? It needs to be a receiver, Mr. P.
No, actually, I can swap Sutton in for receiver, and then I got all the freedom.
Okay, so it's flex. All right, so Gary, if you can make that
on defense.
if you could zoom in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Now, 40. You said 46.
46. Yeah.
So actually, there's some feeling buzz. I wouldn't trust it with this rookie quarterback first week. Obviously, wrong side of the age model. Could he get 10 points, as you say? Yeah, sure, he can get 10 points.
Even with all those targets from Cousins, he could do so little with them. I don't trust an old white guy to get open with a starting
rookie
quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, going through these lists here, Zay Jones obviously was a DraftKings PPR beast last year, but they bring in Calvin Ridley. You're probably not looking.
Gary, what's your policy on tight ends in the flex again?
It depends on the week. I don't think it's something you need to do in week one. Because there's so much salary saving. I probably would make a rule that you just don't even have it. It's the weeks that you need that 2,500 punt, or you really love a matchup on a guy on a very heavy bye week with two studs, right? I like Kittle and Mark Andrews running my build together type thing. Other than that, you don't really need to do it. There's no reason for it because there's going to be guys down here. There just are. We mentioned the 3,000 rookies. Rondale Moore sitting there at 4,200. Kenny Gainwell, there you go at 4,200.
I get rid of Swift and I put Gainwell in. Maybe I do that.
There will be.
Do you remember Ron Rivera's pretty crazy utilization of Curtis Samuel? Did everyone just throw him out?
Here's Mr. Chalky, by the way.
Oh yeah. He's excited.
Sorry, Joe Blow's favorite ex guy, right?
Yeah,
former Jet. You have Alan Lazard. Yeah.
Well, now that since you're a Jets fan and you know that the Jets are just always going to be tortured by everyone that goes away, like when Sam Darnold won the first couple of games, Moore's going out for 10 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm big on Elijah Moore this year. I like him a lot.
I gotta take him. I gotta do that.
That Browns offense, man. That Browns offense is. I mean, if Deshaun Watson can become 80% of what he was on Houston, the Browns have a top 10 offensive line. I think they have top 5 offensive line, loaded weapons. Nick Chubb's the best running back in the league. They're going to be hard to resist right now with Cooper coming off his best season.
Tough division.
And Njoku coming off his best season. Yeah, I'm just talking pure fantasy wise though. They're going to be. They should be good. Yeah.
Moore's going to have a better year than Corey Davis. I'll tell you that much. I know that's going to fight us hard.
What about Alan Lazard and Nicole Hardman?
Oh my God! It feels like we have too many guys. Almost it's like they're not actually.
Mecole Hardman he's been grooming himself to be the next Tyreek Hill for 8 years. It's not going to happen. He's a kick returner. That's it. Bob Lazar. After he gets out of his shifts at Area 51, he's just a red zone threat. You need Corey Davis to come back, be a decent wide receiver too. He had over 1,000 yards with Tannehill a mere few seasons ago, been playing with garbage quarterbacks. And then you need Wilson to just do what he's been doing. I mean, they really could use a tight end.
We don't like Conklin?
You're not a big Uzoma guy? I thought Uzoma played pretty well last year.
And Gary, man, early season Lamar, it is going to be hard to lay off of it. I'm going to have to use him in a power suite.
And this is where you get into the new pricing stuff, right? So Lamar, $8K. But then look at some of these guys that we could play at 5,300. Your best friend, Derek Carr, sorry. Jordan Love, Chicago, $5K.
I want to tell you guys something for a second.
Look at this, dude. Sam Howell, 4,900 at home against Arizona. This guy can run. I'm going to play a ton of him. So he's 3,100 less than Lamar Jackson. So it's just obviously I agree with you on Lamar. It's a tough.
When I was in college, leave those there for a second. When I was in college, I had a theater arts class, and my teacher's name was Jonathan Carr. And at this time, David Carr was in the league, and I switched the two in my head. And I told somebody my teacher was David Carr. And And I remember someone was like, "What are you, David Carr?" I was like, "Yeah, David Carr." And I'll never forget that I was calling, and this wasn't just 1 week. The whole semester, I called this guy David Carr. Another snake, and if it sounds awful, it means you're doing something right. So when you think, I mean, that's the dumbest saying you've ever heard, but when you think about the Eagles, how efficient they were at scoring, and no, I'm actually not looking at Jalen Hurts.
Mm.
I want to go with Mac Jones having to just put up points at home to keep up. We saw that many times in New England, especially early in the season. There were some high-scoring games where they let him chuck it. And I know that every New England slot receiver, the guy lining up on the inside, gets a ton of Jacoby Myers getting 10 catches a game. And another name people are going to hate. You put him with Juju Smith-Schuster, who's another cheap guy, and you take your pick of who you want to run back with all those Eagles on the other side. Usually, you guys know, the old A.J. Brown rule. If it's a physical outdoor game, it's A.J. Brown, but I just know Belichick will do everything to take him out, so I would prefer Devontae Smith. Why don't we run this one, Gary? Can you put in Jones with
Who are you
Jones with Juju Smith-Schuster, and the theory was they always draw plays for their inside guys, always, no matter who it is. And it's not like he's going to be used like he was. I get it, KC. He played with Mahomes.
I would just stack him with Hunter Henry or Gesicki, but I prefer Hunter Henry.
I'm going with Schuster because I think he's going to fill that inside role that. I mean, Devontae Park, you know what he is on the outside, and the other guy, Kendrick Bourne. I really think Schuster's going to have to get a lot of looks in this game, and then I would either go with Devontae Smith or Goddard and not go with A.J. Brown. And Devontae Smith is very expensive, and people will not pay that much for him. So now, if I did want to take Jamal Williams, this is another stack that I can add him to because nobody's doing those three together. Nobody. So just a way to think.
I agree. I agree with you. I mean, I'm sure some people play some hurt stacks and, they'll bring it back hoping that the New England can keep it close, but no one's playing Mac Jones in week 1.
Now just could do me a favor like we always do, throw in a crusty defense, throw in Cleveland's
what about Tampa
defense.
Bay? I was going to ask you guys about defense before I left.
Put in Cleveland's defense at home against Joe Burrow, who's not going to play all preseason and probably is going to be very out of rhythm, and no one's going to be just like he threw 5 interceptions in week 1 last year because he got no preseason in, and then they were all out of sync. And now that leaves us 6,300 per. Get Nick Chubb in there. So now I got the Browns, Chubb's. Look at this. We're making lineups mid-season form, August 11th. I mean, you still need to be cranking air conditioners, and we're looking at millionaire lineups. So now, you have plenty. Yeah, you can do whatever you want from here. But I started you with a lineup that pretty much nobody's going to have outside a couple of fishermen outside of Hyannis in Cape Cod.
Oh, this is a sexy lineup. Yeah, you can do some nice things here. I mean, it's not because it's a Mac Jones stack. So I immediately rescind my my comment, but. Everything else is nice about
Joe Blow. If you want to take that, I gave you Russell Wilson, Mac Jones. Make those stacks work unless they don't work, and then I'm just never going to bring you on here again in shame and embarrassment. So.
I'm taking screenshots of all these gems, guys. This is some good stuff.
Well, thank you for coming on. We will bring you back for some chalky-ass lineups as the season goes. Because as the season goes on, the chalkier your lineups get. Because you think you have a big insider from that big one play you saw from the Colts game that they showed on Red Zone in passing.
I mean, I'm going to watch all the games because I'm still a degenerate. I mean, that didn't change. It's just I'm still just Joe Blow. I'm just kind of I'm not putting a lot of stress into these lineups. I talk to my guys and they give me good stuff. So you guys are truly serving the community here of Joe Blows.
Really you already started 1-0 with that Jamal Williams over on receptions week 1. So congratulations.
That's locking in. That's free money, as a good friend of ours once said. Free money.
They're giving it away.
Like candy.
They're handing it away. It's Halloween candy corn. Take as much as you want. No limitations. All right, man. Take it easy.
Fun, guys.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Yeah, good to see you, Joe. Give me a call.
Yeah, I'll give you a call, Gary. Joe Blow will be giving you a call soon. Thanks, guys. Take care. Great show.
Man. Well, you see, you
crazy. We just found that guy off the street.
Yeah. Yeah. He's in mid-season form of knowing nothing that's going on. I think he saw DeAndre Swift and was like,
Oh. I'll tell you this, he probably won't be that owned. So hey, if you want to be, if you want to be a contrarian.
Do you imagine?
He just wrote Giants money line in the chat.
You in your history since really like entering these tournaments, mass entry style, have you ever pulled big week 1s or week 2s, or has it always been later in the year?
Yeah, I don't think it's only been a couple of years really that I've been doing this. So I don't think I've ever made any big money in week 1, if I'm being honest. I also don't think that I play it as heavily, if I recall, for a couple of reasons. One, I told you I don't like the edge as much. Like, you just have to play these chalky plays. Like, you have to play your Jamal Williamses, and I don't like playing that way. I don't like knowing that I'm going to have the exact same players 35% of the other rest of the field because it's the right thing to do. I'd rather try to find my edges. So that's one. Two, I don't like that the tournaments are so much bigger. You're really trying to hit a lotto because they're trying to get somebody to see if the $10 millie with the million people in it, or the $5 millie. I think they have a $5 millie, which is great, and it gets a lot of people involved in DFS. I like that. But come on, I'm drawing dead. Like, it's a lot. Yeah. It's a true lottery at that point.
So we're just looking to come out even. We're looking to come out even.
Honestly, I have a wedding that weekend. If I just skip it ahead to week 1, obviously I'll be home and I'll play a little bit, and I'm doing work for ETR and everything. But I won't be mass entering, I don't think. Week 1, I'll be kind of gearing up for week 2 ahead of time, getting those prices.
Here's how I know you're going to have great lineups, because you've declared that, and that's how the gods work. You say, I might take it easy. They're going to be like, all your calls are going to come through. But yeah, we'll know more as we get closer to the date. Where there's obviously tons of stuff going. People can sign, and prices are like, that's what's good. Like, now you just said Jamal Williams. That's what I talked about last time. Dameon Pierce goes down, and now Mike Singletary's in every single lineup. Who's
Mike Singletary? The Mike Singletary,
the coach,
the linebacker. Is that who he was?
I had this. Yeah, he's the coach. I just have Devin Singletary, because we mentioned that last time. Yeah, so
Mike Singletary is objectively the more famous all-time Singletary. So I get what you're doing.
It was just a slip. It was a slip. Yeah. I mean, he had a funny one before. Anyway, many of those things could come up. I guarantee you we already have one in Jamal Williams. There will be another 2 because of news that comes out, or because of some
injuries.
Signing.
I mean, preseason, we just had our first 3 preseason games over the last 2 days, or today and the Hall of Fame game. So we haven't even gotten to injuries yet. Training camp is,
Jonathan Taylor doesn't sign. Yeah. Then
right. Josh Jacobs doesn't report. Zamir White, and there's a really good chance, by the way. I think Jacobs will ultimately play, but he's the most likely of these guys to really miss a game or 2. So, I think that's a real possibility. So yeah, all reasonable stuff there for sure.
All right, man. We will come back and reevaluate things in a more real fashion when we have more stuff to go off of, and after we've seen these teams. But I'm going to try to do my best. Like, all I'm thinking for week 1, you're right, man. It's going to be, I'm thinking outside the box for these tournaments. It's going to be Mac Jones lineups and Russell Wilson lineups. And if I lose, oh well, so are the people probably who are going to go with chalky lineups. I'm going wild, or I'm just going to lose. And we're here for the good times regardless. All right. So we'll be back in a few weeks. Definitely. Yep. I guess what is it? September 12th, something like that.
Yeah. September 7th, whatever that weekend is. Yep. That first weekend, second weekend of September.
Yes. Yeah, so September
9/7.
Yeah. So it opens up on the 7th. All right. We will be back with you for week 1. Appreciate you guys coming. I told you we would check in on you once more. We will come back with a traditional episode for week 1. We'll do the best we can for you. Although, I mean, we ended last season with a ruckus week, and we're going to start this right. And week 2 will be. Isn't that such a game that we play where we're always having you chase the string of cheese? No, come back. Week 3 is going to be the real one. But we're just telling you, like, don't go all in early. We know you're tempted. We know there's no good sports on. And I know you're going to be betting this preseason tomorrow with Gary and all that wacky ass stuff. But you gotta,
as you should.
You gotta slowly ascend Bye weeks is where we eat. All right, always remember that. All right, guys, we'll be back with you early September. Take it easy and enjoy the rest of your summer.
Fucking chalk.